What the Tech is sponsored by Shutterstock.com. With over 28 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. For 25% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code WhatTheTech9.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. As always, I'm joined by Mr. Blogger himself, the bad guy, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good. How are you?
You said right before the show that you've had too many of these bad days.
It's been a weird couple of weeks.
I bet. A lot's been going on, Paul. I mean, it's been crazy, the amount of news. It baffles me how, like, 2 months into summer are dead. There's, like, nothing.
Yep.
I mean, literally, like, I'm dying to find something interesting to talk about on the show. Literally, the tech industry goes away, and then September 1st comes, everything goes berserk. Has it always been like that for you? Because you've been blogging for years.
Right.
Or is this something new that's happened over the last couple of years?
This is unique. I can't explain how it's unique other than to say that there's just a lot of stuff happening at a time of year where a lot of stuff doesn't usually happen. And not all of it is, product related. A lot of it is, these kind of soap opera drama things that, people certainly love. But I don't know. I mean, today it's just been work.
I mean, also, it's rare that during the same quarter we get, an iPad and an iPhone and Xbox One and the PlayStation. I mean, there's so much happening where.
Yep.
I don't think I can't.
I'm going to be spending thousands of dollars this fall.
Did you do the math?
Thousands.
I've tried to do the math.
No.
No. You don't want to.
Don't.
Because I had the discussion with Jess the other day. I was telling her, I'm like, I just got to prepare you. I got to buy all these things because I need to review them and I got to talk about it. And I could try to justify it by saying like, well, listen, there are ads on these videos. Some of them are paid for. Some of them, so in the end, we break even. Yes. And she's like, well, how much money do we need to spend?
I already know what's going to happen if I explain this to my wife, and frankly, I should. She's going to say, hey, you know that car you wanted to buy? That's not going to happen now.
That's not going to happen because you needed an Xbox.
Right.
I'm surprised at how many people, like I've said for a while that the casual gamer, the people that, really don't game and they get enough gaming from an iPad, these people aren't going to run out and buy an Xbox like they did in 2006, 2007. When the Xbox came out and when PlayStation came out, like everybody was going and buying it because that's what you did if you wanted to play a game. I'm surprised at how many of these casual gamers are still super excited for the Xbox and super excited about the PlayStation where they've pre-ordered.
Well, it's been a while, right? Since the last Xbox release. I mean, it's been 8 years. 8 years. So I don't know. Usually every fall we have, in my case, for the past 3-4 years, whatever, we've had new Windows Phone releases. Obviously, the Apple stuff. Apple tends to release a new iPhone, new iPods. Last year, they certainly had a new iPad as well, which was kind of off schedule for them from the past. All that stuff is happening again. Google just released a Nexus 7 tablet, and that Chromecast thing, they will release a Nexus 10 and a Nexus 5 probably this fall. Microsoft has new versions of the Surface, a new version of Windows.
Xbox.
Nokia does good stuff. Yeah, the new Xbox. Sony's got a new PlayStation. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's hard to keep up with it.
I don't know how I'm going to do it. I want to talk about all this stuff, but I just want to remind everybody, it is a drinking show. We decided very last minute that we will be drinking today. If you're watching the video live, you see I have a very nice champagne glass, a fancy champagne glass, and I'm drinking Moscato, a nice peachy pink color to this bottle. I'll probably finish this entire thing. Paul, what are you drinking today?
See that sign behind me that says La Fin du Monde on it?
Yes.
I'm drinking that.
Oh, very nice. So
actually, recently, and I had this in a bar. They have another. Actually, I bought. I'm sorry, I'm stepping over myself. Recently in a bar, I had another one of their beers called Maudit, which is kind of a darker version of Lafindamon, which I actually prefer now that I've had it. I'd never had it before. And so the other night we went shopping and I bought some of this. I bought some Maudit, but they also make, this is going to sound crazy, but they make an apple beer, which sounds like it would be terrible, but I actually like it quite a bit. I think it's called Ephemer, something like that.
I've never had it. Is it good?
No, it's great.
I had a really good pumpkin beer. It was pumpkin and cinnamon beer. I posted it on the Twitters.
Okay.
When I drank it, it
Please
tasted
tell me
like
it wasn't.
it was
what
like
was it
apple.
called?
It was like pumpkin pie. It was like
Yeah,
King Pumpkin. I think that
So a
was
lot
the
of
name.
pumpkin beers are spice heavy, and so from sort of a holiday beer perspective, I will say that because this is available nationally, the Sam Adams Oktoberfest, which is a seasonal beer, is particularly excellent this year and is always good. If you're local to me, we have a place called Blue Hills Brewery, and they have an Oktoberfest beer which has a crazy name like Octobrow or something, and that's very good. But they just released a pumpkin beer. And unlike going in that spice direction, which most people do with pumpkin beer, it's kind of strange, but it sounds like it tastes like, it's like a pumpkin saison almost. It's like it's made from actual pumpkin kind of gruel or whatever, and it's kind of flat like British beers can be on purpose, and which is going to turn some people off. And it's a little sweet, but it's maybe the most natural tasting pumpkin beer I've ever had, if that makes sense.
I forgot what I had last year. I get really into pumpkin. Like I consume so much pumpkin like in October that I can't possibly ever have another piece of any kind of pumpkin for another year. I mean, it's crazy. And Justin knows, like I eat pumpkin coffee, pumpkin latte, pumpkin everything. And I really go on this pumpkin beer kick. And I've noticed that they're either super hoppy, like you said, or super sweet. I had one, I can't remember for the life of me what it was, what company was putting it out, but it was absolutely perfect. It was the perfect pumpkin beer. So my point with this was that we are drinking. We are there was a point. We are drinking today. So before we actually start the show and go into some sort of content, I did want to talk about our advertiser before I get a little too drunk and start stumbling over my words during the live read.
Probably wise.
I'll probably do it anyway, but I want to thank our sponsor, Shutterstock.com. This episode is brought to you by Shutterstock with over 28 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Shutterstock helps you take your creative project to the next level. If you're making a website, making a portfolio, this is the place for you. And here's a great deal that they're giving our audience. No credit card is needed. You just go, create an account, and begin using Shutterstock. And when you decide to sign up, when you decide to purchase, use offer code WhatTheTech9 and you receive 25% off any package on the website. Now, this is great for anybody that, like I said, is a photographer, and you can actually put your stuff on Shutterstock, and they constantly go through it, so they make sure everything is high quality. But I'm working with someone on a website, and they needed to have some images for radio stuff. They needed like radio transistors, and they needed like a radio like consoles. And I went to Shutterstock. It was so easy. Rather than going on Google and searching for stuff that probably belongs to someone, you could buy these. It's royalty free. You could use it however you want to use it, and they make it super easy for you, which is great. They also have an award-winning iPad app. I know Paul's a huge fan of the iPad, so they have an award-winning iPad app at Shutterstock. Shutterstock.com. Use offer code WhatTheTech9 and get 25% off your purchase. Hey, listen, if you want to get pumpkin images, just because you love pumpkins so much, you could use Shutterstock for the month of September. WhatTheTech9 is the offer code. I want to thank Shutterstock for sponsoring What the Tech. See, that wasn't bad. I didn't mess up because I'm still sober.
You mentioned the iPad and my love of the iPad.
I did.
And previously, you mentioned all of the money we're going to be spending this fall.
I did.
On new devices. And both of these things depressed me crazily. But I will say, one of the things that occurred to me recently was that given that I have to kind of review this stuff and compare it, I probably will, in fact, have to acquire a bunch of Apple gear this fall and kind of hold on to it, right?
Yeah.
Just to which I don't normally do because I don't use it regularly.
Well, you
but
had the iPad too.
I've had every iPad.
You have.
I've had every iPhone. I've had every iPod. I've had them all. I mean, typically I don't. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I never owned an iPhone 4. I think that was the one I skipped out on. That was a really lousy one that had all this problem. But I've had everything else, and some of them are still kicking around. You know, I've had every Apple TV. I've had lots of Apple
Which
stuff.
you actually like the Apple TV. You use the Apple TV.
I mean, we don't use it that much. It's on there. It's live. We can use it. We certainly have a bunch of content that I bought from Apple that we can access from there. It is actually more typical for us to use the Roku device. But actually, if you've been paying attention to the Apple TV stuff, and and I have, they're improving. You know, the number of services that are available through that thing. It used to be very Apple centric, and I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where we see a lot of video options. Although HBO Go is on there, and there is some stuff on there, but it's gotten a lot better.
I am one of the few people that do not own an Apple TV. And out of principle, I will not go and buy an Apple TV. Everybody tells me to buy an Apple TV, how great it is. I refuse to get it. I just don't want it. I just don't want it. I have a Google TV, and it's awful. Nothing is supported. Everything crashes
Apple
on
TV
it.
is much better than Google TV.
Oh, 100. Tremendously.
Honestly, the interface is fine. It works well. The one thing I don't like about it, if my son is deaf and requires captions, and we've actually, depending on what you're watching, captions are pretty nice to have regardless. But on Roku, from whatever experience, when you're about to watch something, you can toggle captions right there, on and off, very easily. And on the Apple TV, that particular option is global, and you have to jump out of whatever you're doing, go way over to settings, go right into whatever the thing is, and there's a couple things you can set. And it's actually kind of ponderous. That's kind of a weird, special thing for me. But other than that, I mean, I think the Apple TV UI is nice, and they've got a lot of stuff on there now. And
no, I absolutely love. I love the Roku because the development that for regular people to kind of develop an app, it's totally open. Like we have a Roku app. Craig Digital Design, somebody in our Radar Gaming in our chat room.
I saw us in there. Or you in there? I should say. I actually just added a TED channel to my Roku, and while I was fishing around in there, I saw guys from Queens is in there.
Yeah, so it's unbelievable, and we've had thousands of people download that app. I mean, instant day one, thousands of people download. Now, I don't know if all those people are using it, obviously, but it has a huge following, and I'm imagining a lot of these people are regular people that are watching on the Roku. I'm not talking about the tech enthusiasts. I think they've made it really easy for average people to go and download an app and install it and try it out. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
Yep.
I think they do a very good job at that, unlike what Google's doing with their product. But
you have to think, by the way, that Apple, in fact, I think we all would agree it's amazing they haven't done this yet, but Apple will open up the Apple TV.
They have to.
They have to, right? I mean, it's crazy they haven't yet.
But is it necessary for them to open it up if they have AirPlay and you could pretty much take any application? I mean, right now it's not like that, but eventually any application, any game, you could just AirPlay it to the TV and just play with like a joystick.
Sure.
I mean, wouldn't that
this
really...
is the way I mean, everyone acts like Google invented this or something, but this capability has been around for a while. It's available across various devices and with various tablets and phones and so forth. I just saw a press release or something, I think this morning, that Amazon has added the AirPlay compatibility to its Amazon Instant Video app for iOS, right? Which is like kind of bridging two technology worlds when you think about it. Why isn't Amazon Instant Video on Apple TV? It could be if they would just open that thing up, and I bet they will.
Oh, someone just said they just added the GFQ app to their channel. Yeah, so it's pretty easy. So you were mentioning how you've actually bought all the Apple devices. Are you going to be buying an iPad this year?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm out of all the iDevices that are coming out, I think that's going to be the biggest one for them. Forget about the iPhone. The iPhone really is a incremental update. It's not a major update. There's
so let me talk.
Let's
actually, before we go there,
okay.
Let me mention briefly the iPhone. Okay.
Which one? The C or the S?
Yeah. So here's the problem. I don't want either one of these devices. I could not care less, personally. But like I said, I kind of recognize the fact that the way the world is going, we see these three platforms, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and I can't accurately compare anything unless I have those things and have some experience using them. And so it occurred to me, I'm probably going to have to grab one of these new devices, and that raises the question of which one I would get. The iPhone 5C is the iPhone 5 with a plastic back.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so that is pointless to get. I already have iPhone 5 experience. I've used that device. I've had one here. I don't need
mean, isn't the iPhone 5 a better product? I mean, forget about the bigger battery, right? It has a slight increase in battery size, but
Oh, does it really?
Yeah. That and it's fascinating because they mentioned it.
See, for me, that's not an issue. Again, I'm not switching to the iPhone, right? That's not where I'm going. The iPhone 5S has two things that are going to be interesting to write about for me and are what I would call competitive advantages that are kind of unique to that
Obviously,
device.
the gold color.
Your insightful grasp of what I was trying to communicate is amazing. Yeah. No, not the gold cup. The one is that fingerprint sensor, and the other one is the camera. Apple has always done an amazing job with optics and with the quality of the camera. And while I don't expect it to actually give the Lumia 1020 a run for its money, it's not enough for me to just say that. I need to experience this thing. I need to use it side by side with the 1020, and I need to judge it fairly. And to do that, I think I'm going to have to get one of those phones, and it drives me like the thought that I have to buy one of these makes me crazy. But I think I'm going to have to do it.
You brought something interesting up. You brought the fingerprint sensor, and initially because I haven't used an iPhone in a while, and I haven't been really using my iPad. Every night I've been working, so generally when I don't really have too much work, I'll use the iPad in bed and I'll go on Reddit or I'll tweet, whatever.
Oh,
I have been using the iPad a lot more since iOS 7.
Interesting.
And I also want to use it because I kind of forget certain things with iOS, so I kind of want to be able to say this is what I don't like. I recently changed my password for iCloud and all my Apple passwords, and I did the two-step authentication. But also, when you change the password, you can't have like KitKat123 as your password anymore. You have to have at least 8 letters and numbers, and it has to have one capital and one number. So I have this crazy convoluted password now that I've created. I have to put this thing in with iOS 6 currently, but even with iCloud, I have to put that password in. So when I'm buying an app, I have to put that password in.
So
it's a pain in the ass.
What you should do is use a Sharpie to write it on the front of the device, or I guess you could just put a text file in there. Or something.
No. I remember the password. I know the password, but it's a little bit of a pain. Like I got to do I'm not saying this is my password, but
believe me,
463 capital B, lowercase c 529 capital D. Like
everyone get that?
That's the password to everything. By the way, my entire life is that password. So it's a pain in the ass when you have to do that, and let's say you're on the go. I think it's.
Well, no, but how often do you have to do that? I don't understand. I don't have to enter my. Well, let me see.
So I guess once when you buy an app, if I'm buying the app, I have to do it, and then I think there's a time.
When you update the apps, do you have to do it
once? No. Now you don't have to do it, but I believe when you buy an app, it's once a day or once every. I don't know what the time frame is. You have to put that password in.
The passwords are ruining everything. Okay, so. This is true on the Microsoft side as well. I mean, I use Outlook.com. You obviously need a complex password. You want to use two-step authentication because it's the only safe thing. So I've got devices ringing all day long because it's always trying to do authentication against everything. Now the web interface logs you out automatically if you don't touch it for a few minutes.
For Outlook.
So I'm on the web, and I'm constantly going back. And it's not that I have to type the password in again, but I have to click a notification that says it's okay to sign in again. And it never takes the first time. So I have to do it 3 times in a row. And every time it refreshes, it pushes me to a different tab. So then I have to navigate back, say, yes, I would like to sign in. And then I have to navigate back and say, yes, I would like to sign in. It's kind of a pain. Yeah. This is life. I mean, when I do anything Google related, I'll go to YouTube and it'll say, oh, you got to sign in again. Oh, you got to do it. We're sending you a text. And then you got to type in the stupid code. Like Google, Microsoft, Apple, anything with a, internet facing front end. You're going to have to deal with this kind of stuff. It's just the reality of the world.
But with the fingerprint thing, you don't have to put in passwords anymore. And if it actually
Listen,
works well, I
if it
think that's
actually- right.
great.
Yeah, and so obviously I need to use it. By the way, as you were talking, it occurred to me there's a third reason that this device is potentially interesting, the iPhone 5S, and that is the 64-bit processor, right? So I'm not completely up on Apple processors, but I know that the processor in the current generation iPod Touch is like 3 revs behind that. The one in the 5, I'm sorry, I don't remember what's what anymore. There's like 2 generations behind, whatever it is. Like these things are all off, and so that one has, I think, an A7 processor at 64-bit. And I think there are going to be some interesting hints in there as to what a future 64-bit based iPad could be like, and will that be a more viable alternative to a computer, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it pains me, but I think I'm going to have to get one.
So for people who don't understand why that's a big deal, why do you think that what are the pros for 64-bit computing on a tablet or even on your phone?
So honestly, real world, all it boils down to is RAM. And I know that sounds crazy, but Apple doesn't release specs for this kind of things for its devices, but most smartphones today come with between 1 and, actually I think it's 2 is typical, but we're hitting the 4 gig limit on RAM. And once you get to 4, that's the end of the road for 32-bit. And for Windows, it's actually 3 point something. But if you want to go beyond that, you need 64-bit computing. And so I don't think that the 64-bit-ness of the A7 or the 64-bit-ness of iOS 7 is going to have a material impact on that device in the slightest. I think it is going to have a bigger impact on the iPad down the road.
Yeah, listen, and that's the next step in the evolution of these things. That's really what it comes down to.
Yep.
So are you buying it on day one, or are you going to wait a little bit?
I don't know. I just came to this. So I'm still coming to terms with this one. I mean, I guess I could get it day one. I don't really. I'm not going to go stand in line at an Apple store. And so if I were to get it on day one, what I would probably do is order it on day one and then get it whenever it comes in and not worry about it. So, and I have iOS 7. I've got it. I've not, in fact, my daughter's iPad is in here now, so I can install it on there. She has the latest iPad now, as I hand these things down in some cases. I have a 5th gen iPod Touch here, which is upgraded to iOS 7.
Is that
honestly, it's fine.
The new one?
The latest one.
The latest one, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
By the way,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just because you've talked about this in the past, the 5th gen iPod.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about trackpads.
No. Okay. Well, you've talked about the iPod Touch a lot, and how they always had like the 4th gens kind of kicking around for a while, and how weird that was, and how people would go to buy an iPod Touch and they would get the wrong one and they would get the old one. It turns out, and this kind of blows my mind, but you were right. and here's where you were right. iOS 7 is not supported on the 4th gen iPod Touch.
It is not.
And they sold that device up until, I think, a few months ago. Remember when all of a sudden they came out with the black and white 5th gen iPod Touch and they finally got rid of the 4th gen?
Is the 4th gen, is it still available or is it gone?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think as of now it's actually gone, but I think you could have bought it new from Apple as recently as 2 or 3 months ago.
Oh, no, I'm positive. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I believe if you go to apple.com and look, you can only get 5th gen. And what they did was they came in with a new entry-level version of the 5 that doesn't have the loop wrist strap and maybe doesn't have a camera. I don't know what else is missing.
It's $229.
It's only black and white.
Yeah, $229.
Yeah. But it is a 5th gen device, right? 5th. Yes.
Yeah, it's a 5th gen, but you're also missing some of the stuff. Like I think the camera isn't as good.
Yeah. Okay. But the point is, it's still the 5th gen internals, and so that machine you can upgrade to iOS 7. I think the reason they got rid of the 4th gen is that version you cannot upgrade with iOS 7, and that's bizarre because of all the iPod Touches. I bet there are more 4th gen iPod Touches in the world than all other versions combined.
Well, I was wondering why they left that thing on the market. I mean, that was bizarre to me that they put it on there. They released the latest one at $300. I mean, I just couldn't understand it. I still don't. Well, I really don't.
It's Apple.
Because that thing is $229 for a 16 gig, You get the tablet for, $100 more or whatever.
Makes no sense, but it also had the smaller screen and whatever else. But
Yeah.
anyway, turns out if you get one of those things, you're stuck. You're on iOS 6 point whatever for the rest of your life. So
Well, now you got to upgrade for Christmas. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
I think it is what it comes down to.
I really the iPod the next iPad I'm probably going to purchase. I have an iPad 2. I feel like the last two versions they got away with lack of innovation on these devices. They just upgraded the specs. Like
It's not fair. The iPad 3 was thicker.
The iPad 3. Yeah, okay, so they went a little backwards. The iPad 4 was just like this. So we have this and we have that. And by the way, there's a new
iPad 4,
iPad.
You want to know what the iPad 4 was? It was a Lightning connector. It was iPad 3 plus Lightning connector.
So really, the last two versions of this device have not been anywhere near the caliber of the second gen device. I mean, the iPad 2 still, to this day, is probably the best tablet you could buy on the market. As far as ecosystem goes, as far as performance goes, Android cannot match the performance of the iPad 2. I've used all of these. I'm not a fan of the Android tablets. I like the Nexus 7.
By the way, it's kind of weird how this conversation is going, but I use the Nexus 7 every single day. And I don't mean that like I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to use this thing. I mean, for whatever reason.
I don't think anybody's saying that.
I know. Well, no, I do think some people say that. But I have switched all of my Amazon magazine subscriptions to that device. And I have added a few new ones, by the way, as well. I've read some graphic novels recently through both Amazon and through like the Dark Horse app, whatever that is. Chrome is very interesting on an Android tablet because it can synchronize stuff with your PC, which I think is pretty cool. And so there's some good, there's some good stuff about it.
No, it's not awful. I mean, it's not awful at all. But when I want to just set this thing on fire? When I get a Google Hangout request and I just try to join the Hangout on my 7-inch Nexus and the thing crashes on me over and over again, that's the point that I'm saying this is not at the level of the iOS devices. Their own applications are crashing on a regular basis on their flagship device.
Flagship device?
I guess that's their flag. I mean, the Nexus 7 is a flagship Android device.
Maybe. I mean, I'm very curious. When they came out with the Nexus 10, whenever that was last year or early this year, whatever, wasn't hugely interested in it. But given the improvements they made to the Nexus 7, now I'm interested in the next Nexus 10. And that's another device I'll get whenever they release that.
But the next iPad, I feel like this one has to. I mean, we've seen some of the case designs, thinner bezel. Obviously, it's going to take the form factor of the smaller, the iPad Mini.
Yep.
I'm curious to see what the specs are going to be inside. Obviously, we're going to get a 64-bit processor if that's what they're putting on the iPad. But what are they going to do with the iPad 2? Are we going to see? And this is where it gets interesting. So they're going to have the iPad, the next iPad 5 or whatever it is, and then they're going to probably have a lower-end iPad. And then the Retina, and I'm sorry, and then the Mini,
2.
the Mini.
Whatever. Oh, I see what you're saying.
They have to take the 2 off the market at this point.
Listen, you can still get a free iPhone 4S today, and I think the reason they did that was because if they had taken the iPhone 5 from last year and made that the new low-end device, everyone would have bought that phone. Instead of the 5C, but. If you use that model and apply it to the iPad, and
does it work?
There'll be the iPad 5. They do have an iPad
C.
Mini, and so that screws things up. And so, what's that middle device? Is it still an iPad 2? Do they move the iPad 4 down to that slot? Knowing Apple, honestly, I bet it's the iPad 2. I bet they keep it.
It's a not Retina device.
It's not a Lightning adapter device, a Lightning. Or whatever it is.
I mean, listen, Paul.
But by the way, neither is the iPhone 4S, and they're still selling that.
Unless they re-release the iPad 2, they don't call it the iPad 2 anymore. They put a Lightning connector. They do minor tweaks.
Oh, really? What do they call it now? This is called iPad or something?
iPad.
No, this is
not the new iPad, just iPad. iPad original. They have that. Don't they have the iPod original?
Sure, I don't know.
I don't know, but it is getting a little convoluted at their structuring right now, and. I understand market saturation. They have to have as many products as possible to kind of compete with Android and compete with everything else on the market. But When your consumer goes into a store and they don't know what's what, it gets a little confusing. I guarantee you, people go into the Apple store, they have no idea that there is another iPad on there.
You're right. It is getting crazy. I think that Apple would, I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. I don't even know why I say stuff like this, but I think Apple would be better served by moving all iPads to Retina for starters. You know, the iPad 2 is still low res. I don't know what the, see if I can find it. It's still 1024 by 768. That's crazy. I mean, I think they need to do that, but they won't do that. I mean, they should be on all Lightning, but yet they still sell an iPhone 4S today. So I just don't see this stuff happening. I don't know.
Yeah. So the Kindle Fire, there were leaks of the Kindle Fire 2 HD I sent you earlier. It looks like the original one. I mean, there's nothing different. It just, the back is different, right?
I mean, it's funny because from the front, it looks like a non-HD Kindle Fire. It looks like the Kindle Fire, you know, the original one, the kind of blocky looking thing. And then from the back, it has like this kind of tapered look that I assume is, you know, for however it is to hold the thing. You know, it looks like it looks interesting, maybe. But, you know, that's a real plain Jane looking device. I mean, that's my only problem with it. You know, from the front, it's like it's not. You know, I'm gonna have to see one. That's, by the way, that's another one I'll get. Absolutely. I have both the Kindle Fire HD and the 8.9 version still here. I like the Amazon stuff, but you know, we complain a lot about Microsoft, now Apple, and how slow they move. And Amazon's kind of on the same boat. You know, they come out with these new Kindles once a year. That's what they do, and there's nothing else in the interim. And it's kind of been a long time since the last Kindle Fire HD was released. Like a year.
I guess their problem is they caught on to something, and they've been very successful at it because of the Amazon ecosystem. What else are they going to do? I mean, I guess they could build better products as far as the actual hardware goes, but do they want to risk a price increase on these devices? Because the people going and buying these things, it's totally different, in my opinion, than the people going and buying an iPad.
Yeah, you're right.
So what else could they possibly... Here's an image.
They're always going to be a step behind, I think, from a tech perspective. Although, you know, it looks like this thing's going to be super high res. It should have a decent processor. You know, the last Kindle Fire HD, if I'm not mistaken, shipped with a TI processor after TI had already announced they were leaving the processor market. You know, I mean, it's kind of a weird deal. So, yeah, I mean, I'll get it. You know, their UI is pretty simplistic. I mean, I honestly.
But is that a bad thing? Do you think they're simple?
No, it's right for that market. So when you're the typical consumer, that mass market that they go after, that you're on Amazon and you're buying lawn furniture and dog food and whatever else, and you see, like, I like to read books, you know, whatever. Kindle is a great choice, and it is that great front end to all of those Amazon services. And if you're invested in that ecosystem in the slightest, you know, if you use Prime shipping and you want to get Amazon Instant Video, and I mean, all that stuff is on there, and it's all front and center, and they do a good job of that. If you want to just shop at Amazon.com, they have a nice kind of tablet tailored experience for doing that. And so there's no doubt that these things will do pretty well, but I do think it's somewhat notable that, you know, the Kindle stuff has not run away with anything on the tablet side. Like, it's not, you know, it's probably like 1/10 the size of iPad or something. It's not.
Yeah, but what percentage does the Kindle Fire have of the Android tablet market? I mean, I guess now it's a little less because we have a device like the Nexus, which is a Google device, but
right. I don't know.
I'm curious to know what percentage they have of the Android market.
I bet it's not. I don't know. I bet it's not huge. I mean, I think one of the problems with the Android market is that there's so much choice there. So you can have a couple of major players, you know, Samsung and Nexus and, you know, Amazon. But then you're going to have a lot of small players, like really small players. And so even the big players, I don't think are going to be 40, 50, 60% of the market. I think they're all 25, 30 at best. You know, I don't think those guys are huge.
T-Bone in our chat room said he saw Kindle at 33% somewhere. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Okay. Yeah.
I could see that. But that's a significant chunk of the market. I mean, you're talking about 33% of every Android tablet, which is there's a new one every week.
So the problem though is that Apple gets 100% of the iPad market.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
iPad is still, it's a little under 50%, but let's just say 50%. And so, I mean, Apple is still, I think by far probably the biggest tablet maker, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, because they actually do it right, in my opinion. It doesn't have the inconsistencies that every other one has. I don't
Sure.
care that Samsung put out a new Galaxy tablet. I don't think anybody cares.
No.
And this
In
is
fact,
what this is
I
something.
wish
Go ahead, Paul.
they're the opposite, right? They put out too much stuff.
And this is something that I was thinking about today when I was writing up the stories. What tablets do you know of? I know that there's the iPads. Okay, I'm going to put that in one category. I know that there's a Kindle Fire. Some people might know that there's a Nexus.
Right.
And then what else do we have?
I bet a few people have heard of Nooks just because there's retail
Okay,
exposure.
maybe a Nook. I mean, we haven't heard anything about the Nook over a year. But okay.
No,
but
well, except bad news.
yeah, except bad news. Yeah, but like, okay, what else? Like,
Well,
what's the
I think
Samsung tablet?
has got a pretty good brand, and I think people understand that Samsung makes tablets. But I think where it kind of falls apart is that they make too many of them, and people don't have an understanding of what the differences are. Like other people will probably say things like, "Oh, wait, aren't those the guys that make the one with the pen?" And it's like, yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
And understanding which ones do and don't have that and what the capabilities are. And I think they just have overdone it.
I think they've overdone it. And the other side of the problem, like let's say with Windows, like we know that there's a Surface. Like
Right.
what's HP's tablet?
Yeah.
What's, Dell's tablet? What's Acer's tablet? Like some people might know, but there's nobody's walking into a store and saying like, "Oh, I want the Acer Iconia, whatever." I don't even know the model. Like nobody's doing that.
No one would ever say that. So the problem is that Windows as an ecosystem has not evolved to the point where anyone would buy a tablet, like just a tablet, and that the Windows devices are really PCs. And so they might look like a tablet, but really you're attaching it to a keyboard somehow, and that thing is a PC. And so we have things like the IdeaPad Yoga, and now there's a ThinkPad Yoga that I think some people have heard of, where that's kind of a big deal, or Surface, which people have certainly heard of, but it's really not a pure tablet. It's
But there's
kind of
brand recognition. I mean, people they when you hear the name, you know what it is.
Yeah, and so I think that in the future you will see devices from Dell and HP and Acer and Asus and whoever else that are hybrid devices. They're PCs, and 5 years ago, no one walked into a Best Buy and said, "I want the Asus whatever, or HP whatever, or Dell whatever." They just said, "I want a PC. What's here?" And then we looked, because they knew these things were all compatible, and it didn't matter which one they got.
But do you think it's a compatibility thing, or do you think it's poor marketing as far as the PC manufacturers go? Because you know what people buy?
Yeah.
They buy whatever's on sale at Best Buy that week.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, or they buy the Apple product. I mean, Apple has really good brand recognition and good marketing. They advertise very heavily everywhere, in very traditional ways on billboards and on walls. And, you see iPad and iPhone and iPod app advertisements everywhere. So they do a really good job kind of plastering your entire world with Apple ads. And so they create this impression that that's all there is. And I think that does feed into their success in a big way. It's important to do that.
I mean, Paul, can you name me, successful? I mean, like name me like 5 successful laptop, PC names, like Satellite, obviously, but I don't think anybody's buying it.
PC brands. I could tell you exactly what the brands are.
Like the top
any
brands.
PC maker.
Yeah, give me like the top brands.
Okay, so the top brand in portable computers, is ThinkPad,
Yeah.
right? And you say that, and people are like, yep. Is the second you say that, I think most people would say, "Yep, you're right." But if you ask most people in the street, name the top laptop brand or whatever, I think most people would be like, you know what I mean?
The Satellite 24-059D.
Right. And if you were to look at the top PC sales, PC model sales, anytime over the past 10, 20 years, you would see something like that. Number 1, HP Pavilion 5622-CTO-123M. It's always some stupid name.
And that's what Apple's done great. I mean,
Right.
I always say their marketing and their PR, no company has come close to them, and I don't think any company will because there's so much brand recognition. Everybody knows what a MacBook Pro is.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows every Mac product that has come out over the last 5 years.
Okay.
Because
because there are only three of them.
There's only three of them, but still, they've done.
Yeah.
I mean, how many brands does HP have for laptops? I'm sure that they probably have like
a
5.
lot of times you can describe things in certain ways just to make it make sense to somebody. So the laptop that I use, which is a Samsung Ultrabook, it's a 15-inch Ultrabook, which is kind of unusual. There's only a couple of models like that. I'll open it somewhere and someone will say, wow, that's really cool. Look at that thing. It's really thin. What is that? And I'll say, it's a Samsung, whatever it is. And they'll say, oh, yeah, I've never heard of that. And I'll say, it's like the Windows version of a MacBook Air. And they're like, oh, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Now, and then they understand.
Then they get it.
They don't make a 15-inch MacBook.
I mean, but could you imagine if the car manufacturers ran like that? You know what I mean? Like there was like Nissan, like let's say Mercedes had, like the Mercedes S-Class and the C-Class and E-Class. And then Chevy put one out and nobody knows the name. They go, yeah, but that's like the E-Class. That wouldn't work.
Obviously, in the auto industry, they do spend a lot of time comparing themselves to each other. That's the thing. But I noticed I've been I've been looking for cars for a long time, actually, and I spend a lot of time on car maker websites, and I go back and forth, and I think about things, and I, put cars together and see how much they're going to cost and everything. And if you go to Chevy.com, you'll see something really funny, which is that every one of their models, if you look at the URL, it doesn't just say the name of the car. It tells you what kind of car it is. And so I'm just making this up right now, but it will say something like Chevy Cruze, mid-sized car. Or you go to like Chevy Malibu, like, mid-sized car.
Well, we have to, here they are gloating about how many awards they've won, because obviously they make the best cars in the world.
Of course.
All right, so we have cars, crossovers.
So click on one of the,
all right.
Go to cars.
Okay.
And, to click on one like Cruise or something.
All right,
and so then look at the URL that comes up.
Okay.
And what it will say is, it doesn't just say the car name, it tells you what kind of car it is. And I think that's kind of funny. It's like, could you imagine, like, it would say, like, Dell Inspiron, whatever, 11R Ultrabook.
I like this one.
Like, they have to add that bit to it,
Let's see, a Corvette. It's a coupe.
Yeah, but Corvette would probably say sports car.
Yeah.
Like that explains a car you could spend $60,000.
I like how they have the, like every one of them has like cargo volume, because most people know what 16.3 cubic feet means.
Sure.
Like
people who buy sports cars, like traditional old-fashioned sports cars, like big block sports cars, and muscle cars, and trucks like those numbers. Like they like big numbers. How much torque does that thing have?
I'm one of those people. If I could have it my way, I'd be riding around in an 88 IROC.
Oh my god!
Everything is clunking. It's leaking from the
sure.
seals.
I picture you in more as an 82 Camaro Berlinetta.
That's what that's what my dad had.
With a T-top.
My dad had a 1980.
Yeah.
T-top. It's
Sure.
engraved in me. I can't get rid of the trashiness.
No, I listen. I
can't.
I've spent more time in T-topped Camaros than I care to admit to.
I do want to remind everybody, we have a lot to talk about, but we are drinking today. So if we're getting a little off towards the end of the show, this is
that will
why.
never happen.
I'm drinking Moscato. It's a nice pink color. I've never had Moscato, actually. I don't like these sweet, bubbly wines. Not a big fan of them. I'm not. It's a rosé. It's a rosé. There you go. Paul is drinking beer. So it says a lot about us. We're like the odd couple, Paul. I like my fruity champagnes, and you like your beer.
Give me a towel. Swallow.
Did you just spill the beer?
No, I told you earlier I didn't want to admit to the stupid thing that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
And the stupid thing I had done was I've got this container that I put the beer in.
Okay.
I put ice in the container to keep the beer cold. And what that means is that I was unable to. Thank you, Kelly. Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Thank you, dear. Now get out. So the ice stuck the bottle of beer to the container.
Okay.
So when I couldn't take it out. In other words, I couldn't get the bottle out. So when I poured the first glass, I had to pour the entire thing. So what I just did was I refilled my glass. But now, of course, the ice is melted. And so in pouring it, I of course dumped the water. I know this is a shocker, but for you non-scientists in the audience, ice turns to water all over the floor of my office. So
I thought you spilt it as I was talking about you drinking.
No, I didn't spill any beer. I just spilled water.
So we are drinking. We are having fun. I also, before we go into the next segment, I do want to encourage you guys, if you shop on Amazon, I don't know who doesn't shop on Amazon. We have an Amazon affiliate link here at the GFQ Network, and it helps us out when you buy stuff from it. We get a small percentage of every sale. It's not going to cost you anything. We just get a little bit of the kickback from the end. I guess it's like 5% we get back, or like 6%, something like that. You could help us out by going to gfq.co/Amazon. That's our shortened URL for Amazon, gfq.co/Amazon. When you buy stuff from Amazon, use that link, and it helps us out. And that's it. No more. I'm not selling anything to you. I'm done.
Sounds like you are.
I know. I'm selling them a URL to use. Paul, next week is the Microsoft event. I want to talk about that a little bit. You're coming to New York, where there's a meetup happening here in New York, but a lot of people have been asking me about the Lumia 1520.
Right.
It's been delayed.
Yep.
I'm not really concerned about the delay, but here's my question about this thing. This is a 6-inch phone. It's a big phone.
Yep.
One more inch, and it's a tablet.
I know. Yeah, the line is pretty vague.
I mean, initially, what was the maximum screen size that Microsoft said for these Windows phones? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I think it was actually 5 inches, if I'm not mistaken.
I wanted to say that, but I can't honestly remember what it was.
Honestly, for the first version of Windows Phone, it might have even been 4. Well, no, that can't be true, because the original HTC Titan was
4.3.
Yeah, 4.3. So somewhere in that range. I'm not really sure.
So they have gone bigger.
But yes, they have gone bigger. And so on the Windows side, because there's Windows and Windows Phone, right? Windows devices, non-phone devices, I think can go down to 7 inches ish, somewhere in there.
Okay. I could have swore I read it was 7.8, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. But today you can buy a Samsung Galaxy Mega, which is a ridiculous, a dumb name. What do you like, the Escalade of the smartphone world, I guess. But it's 6.3 inches.
That's obscene.
Yeah, it's ludicrous, right? But I still think that there's an audience for this kind of thing, and I think that I'm very interested to see what Nokia does with a 6-inch screen.
Here it is. That's not it. There you
go.
The
funny thing about the Mega, by the way, is you see something like that, and you're like, well, okay. We know that Samsung makes the Note, Note 2, Note 3, I think is coming out soon. We know that the Galaxy S4 is a pretty big screen. We know that those devices are, comparatively speaking, fairly high-end devices, right? And so you would assume that the Mega is like this high-end phone, and I do expect the 1520, or whatever it's called, to be a high-end Windows phone. Possibly even a quad-core phone, right? Which has not happened yet on the Windows Phone side. But the Mega is not a high-end phone. It's kind of a mid-level phone, which is kind of strange.
Well, here's my question about this, and this is what makes this device interesting to me.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, one more inch, and it's a tablet. And what are the odds of us seeing a 7-inch, Lumia?
Right.
I mean, to me,
not good, because in that case, Microsoft actually controls that.
Yeah, but I mean, there's unless they're going to can this thing, I don't know, but 6 inches is cutting it really close.
Yeah, I've often said that there's a very fine line between Windows Phone 8 and Windows RT, in that Windows RT is simply lacking a phone app. And that if they just provided it with the capability to run Windows Phone apps, Windows RT could make that transition, I think,
Is that a possibility?
Very easily.
I mean, is that something?
I just did like a Jackie Gleason and Away We Go thing there.
I saw that.
I don't know why I did that.
I saw that.
To the moon, Andrew.
Or to the ocean for Microsoft, because they're just going down. Do you
just kind of?
Do you see them kind of saying like, okay, well, we could port these apps or something? Because like, I would love a 7-inch Windows Phone, tablet. I mean, I would love that because there's apps for it. I understand what it is.
Right.
I know Microsoft doesn't want that, but
yeah. But though I would love a Windows Phone tablet, and it's one of the reasons why like the 6-inch device is pretty interesting. Although, like I said, I've been spending a lot of time with the Nexus 7, and for some things, it's almost a little small, which is kind of a strange thing to say, but a Windows Phone tablet would be so awesome. Just the ability to run the entertainment apps and like play games especially. I mean, there's such an amazing range of Windows Phone games. I think people don't appreciate how many good games are on Windows Phone and how many Xbox Live games are on Windows Phone, far more than are available on Windows 8 or Windows RT. A much, much bigger collection of games. Bringing those devices bringing those apps and games to like just Windows tablets, that would be so huge. I can't believe they're not doing this.
maybe, I mean, listen, they've gone back on a lot of these things that they said, it is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And I think if there was a time that Microsoft would, this is the time that they would kind of go back on some of the stuff that they said. We saw that happen with the Star Mini. We've seen them, obviously change the specs on these devices.
Yep.
It is interesting that it's a 20 megapixel per pure view rather than the 40.
Yeah, the 1020 is almost a technology experiment, and the camera is amazing. And one of the things I've noticed when you put the camera app that comes on the 1020 is called Nokia ProCam, and they've made it available for some of their other phones, the 920, the 925, and the 928. And so when you install that app on these other phones, you get the chance to use that really nice camera app on phones that for the day, and by the day I mean like 6 months ago, were really impressive, but don't hold up to the 1020, and you can really see it. And so I'll be publishing a review of the 925 soon, and it's a fantastic phone, beautiful form factor, really thin and light, attractive looking. 6 lenses in the camera. It's a better camera than the 920 or the 928. But when you take shots with that thing side by side, you notice the difference. And the Nokia marketing around 1020, the Zoom, what was it called? Zoom, I just forgot the name, reinvented, whatever their tagline is. Really, it comes down to those megapixels. That one thing that professional camera, fans will tell you doesn't matter. More megapixels, it doesn't mean better pictures. Well, actually, as it turns out, in this case, it does. And you can see the difference when you compare it to I think it's 8.7 megapixels or whatever it is on the 9X series, the 9 series on the Lumias.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going from 8 to 40, obviously there's going to be a difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
But what if you went to 20? Would 20 be enough? Would 20 be enough to give you amazing photos without the size of the bump that you get on the 1020? Which, by the way, isn't that bad. But if you look at the leaked shots of the 1520 or whatever they're going to call it, there's a minimal bump on the back, and it looks very similar to the bump you see in the 925, which I have here. So actually, I can show it to you. So if you look at the back, this is a Lumia 925, and it's gonna be kind of hard to see there, but
it's a little bump. I see it.
A little bump, and it looks like the 1520 has the same type of just that little bump.
And by the way, the back of the 1020 was something that a lot of people complained about, where it looks like the camera's gigantic on that thing,
which is ludicrous, by the way. So if I could show you the 1020 that I use, there is a. See if I can turn this the right way. There is that, a little bit, right? But come on, I mean, it's big in that sense, like you can see it, like how big it is. But the actual bump, the actual protrusion,
it's not huge.
It's not humongous.
Yeah.
It's not like an optical zoom, point and click camera. It's not like that at all.
Yeah. So there's an event here in New York on Monday, which you're coming in for, the Surface 2 announcement. And have there been any late-breaking leaks, information, anything that's come out about this device that we didn't know prior?
No, actually, it's funny. They invited people to come to the Surface 2 event, and suddenly the leaks stopped happening. And I don't know if that was their plan or if they reached any agreement with anybody or whatever. They certainly didn't ask it of me.
I'm not invited.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised I was invited. I mean, I've been writing a lot about the Surface 2 stuff lately, and honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had been like, it's enough of that, but we'll see.
And anything
But-
coming out? Nothing has come out about this. Are you excited about the Surface 2? Because when the Surface came out, I mean, a lot of people were excited for it, and
Yeah.
everybody said, "Well, you know what? It's all right, but the 2's going to be much better." I'm imagining.
I'm always starry-eyed when it comes to new tech, but the problem is I know everything they're going to announce, and I know that there's nothing of substance for me personally. So, I guess all I can say is that the current Surface devices, the Surface RT, Surface Pro, are just not the type of device I'm going to use on the road. So, as it turns out, right now, again, I'm still using the Surface Pro as my computer because my computer is broken. And by the way, this box you can see here is my actual desktop computer. I kind of pulled it out to test it, and so after extensive work with it, it's still under warranty. Amazingly,
Wait,
In fact,
are you on the laptop?
Yeah, I'm working off the Surface
I mean, since you left, you've been.
since before I went to Europe. So
Yeah.
I'm finally getting my HP fixed. It's actually under warranty. They're going to fix it for free. It is broken, and I'll go back to that. But as far as like out in the world, the problem is the Surface screen is too small. The Surface keyboard is too small, and what I'm used to is a 15-inch screen, a very thin Ultrabook. It's very light. It's got a full-size keyboard. It's not ThinkPad quality keyboard, but it's full-size keyboard. I just can't go to a device that's small. For me, it's like being in front of a little postage stamp screen. It's just too small.
Yeah.
It's just me. The device is super high quality. These are really well-made computers. The Surface Pro 2 certainly will be a better Surface 2 across the board. But, I mean, am I excited about it personally? Not really. I mean, because unlike last year I held some mistaken belief, as it turned out, that maybe I could switch to these things full-time and that this would make some, kind of sense for me or something.
And it didn't happen.
It just doesn't, yeah. Although, by the way, I've been using the thing for like 2 months.
Oh, yeah. But you're going to go back. I mean, that's the problem.
Well, my desktop PC is an i7. My desktop PC has 8 gigs of RAM. It could easily be extended past that. My desktop PC has a 256 gig SSD in it and a 2 terabyte, 7,200 RPM drive. I mean, it has a high-end graphics card. It has, there's all this stuff. I mean, and I do a lot of work with virtual machines for testing purposes, and I do video capture off of the Xbox and off of other video sources and things like that. And, I need that kind of processing power. And so this works. It absolutely works. And I think for a lot of people, this would work really well. And certainly with the next gen, they'll have a docking station, and that will be an even more seamless experience at a desk. But it's just not for me.
Yeah. So we're having a get together here in New York. Do you know what your plans are for the day? Are you coming to it? What are we doing?
Yeah. So I haven't made my plans yet. I'll do that tomorrow. And so I will know for sure tomorrow. My current plan is to come in early that morning. I think the event is late in the morning or in the morning or whatever. We'll
11?
probably end early. Is it? I hope so. I think it's 11. 11 would be better for 9. Better than 9 for me, coming from Boston as I am. But, we'll have the event, and then we'll do some kind of a meetup. And I don't know the schedule, but my plan currently, if I can do it, and it looks like I can, is I can take a train home at either 7 something at night or 9 something at night if I have to, and then I would get home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. But if I have to do that, I will, because I think I'd rather go home than stay overnight. But originally there was some confusion about whether that Nokia event, which was originally scheduled for later in the week, right? Was it the following week? Oh, this is the following week. Yeah, I think the Nokia event was originally scheduled for Thursday next week, and it was like, well, if I'm going to come in for something on Monday, am I going to go in and out? Now I don't have to think about that. But I think what I'm going to do is just go home that night. So we'll do something, and by late tomorrow, Thursday, I'll be able to
You'll know.
tell you what the schedule is, where we'll be. Mary Jo will be there. I think Tom Warren's in town, and Peter Bright's going to be in town, and it's fair to think that other people I don't know about are coming in as well, like Windows and technology writers and stuff. And so I would assume we can get a bunch of these guys to get together, and we can, hang out and drink bad beer and stuff.
And I'll be there.
And you.
And me. All these
You'll be
established
there with
journalists.
your Princess glass with your thumb out, drinking some
There
pink
we go.
liquid.
Look at this. Look at this thing.
Like you pick that thing up and your dog barks.
I know. You just got devastated. It's a fancy glass.
Like, right? But I don't know what it is. My dog is trying to throw himself out of the second floor window.
I just picked this thing up. He went berserk. What is that? I'll be drinking Budweiser the entire time, so it'll be a lot of fun. Andrew, the uninvited can just start drinking early. Listen, I have nothing on Mondays, so I could get there during the event and just drink and just be ready for everyone when they show up. So it doesn't matter to me. It'll be a lot of fun. Also, before we wrap up, people have been dying for me to ask you this question. What is the Nokia Android story that came out last week?
Nothing. I mean,
It's a non-story that they were just testing with the thing?
Yeah. I mean, duh. Of course
Okay.
they did. And people try to read all this stuff into it, but there would have been 2 points where it made sense for Nokia to be testing a phone, an Android phone. I think they did it both times. One is before they adopted Windows Phone because they didn't know which direction they were going to go in. And if you think about that circumstance, it was a lot like when Apple was trying to find a next-gen operating system after Copeland fell apart, right? They looked at NT.
Yeah.
They looked at Solaris. They looked at BOS, and they looked at NextStep. And they picked NextStep. But, as a matter of course, they looked at these other things. I mean, no one is writing a headline today that says, oh, my God, can you believe that Apple actually tested using Windows NT? Well, of course they did. Of course they did. But the second time they would have tried it apparently was pretty recently. And I think given the way that things were going at Nokia financially, at some point I think they had a discussion internally where it was like, look, we're obviously doing better than we were, and we've cut where we can cut, but we're on kind of this spiral, and we don't see getting out of this. It's not that we're not making good devices. It's not that we're not making a difference in the Windows Phone world. It's that when it all boils down to it, we're just not making enough devices and not making enough per device for this thing to make sense. And so how can we change that, right? And one of the ways they could change that would be to also make Android devices, or maybe even switch to Android devices. And so of course they tested that. And to me, that's just it's just common sense. Of course they did.
It turned into like
controversial,
typical tech, gossip.
It's just so stupid.
I mean, what are people imagining? I mean, at this point, they're so committed to Microsoft.
Sure.
From day one, they've been committed to Microsoft.
Do you not think that, BlackBerry came out with this version of the OS where they could run Android in emulation? I mean, do you think that BlackBerry might have tested Android? Of course they did. That's what you do, when things are going south and you want to figure something out. You want to figure some alternate path. You want to, ultimately, the company wants to go it on their own, of course. And so they have to pursue every available way of doing that. And when they can't, when they can't, they get bought by Microsoft.
And one more question before we wrap up. One more question, Paul. I promise. I was looking at the 520 for myself. I want to buy this thing and just use it Wi-Fi. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay, so I could just walk into a store,
Here's
go
the
on
thing.
Amazon, buy for $99.
Yeah. And for most purposes, that will work perfectly well. I do that all the time with a variety of Windows phones. But the interesting thing about the 520 is that it comes with a SIM. And you don't have to use it. It's one of those pay-as-you-go, Go phone SIMs. But it actually makes sense to leave it in there if you think you're going to use the GPS stuff, because the GPS functionality that from the standpoint of the apps that Nokia provides, here Drive, here Maps, and so forth, relies on the SIM to know what version of the app to give you. And in the case of Go Phone, you get the US Maps for free is what you get. You can just use it in airplane mode. Just don't worry about it.
And how's the performance on the thing? Is it?
I love this thing.
Is it any good? I mean, when you compare it to, let's say, like
it's
the
fantastic.
920, like if I were to use this next to the 920, am I going to say,
Right.
oh my God, the 920 is so much faster?
No. Honestly, no. So the 920 has a faster processor, more RAM, that kind of stuff. This thing plays most of the games. It's a smaller screen. I think that's a bigger issue than the performance. It has all the Nokia apps, which are amazing. It does all the Microsoft entertainment. I'm sorry, not Microsoft. All the Microsoft and third-party entertainment stuff. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Rhapsody, Xbox Music. I mean, it goes on and on. Netflix works on it. Nokia Music works on it. Obviously, this is the greatest value in technology today. This one here is actually a 521. This same thing. I've got both of them. I've got a 520 and a 521. I mean, these phones are amazing. You can pop off the backs on the 520 and put different colored backs on. They've got like, I think it's black, yellow, blue, green, a couple of, red, whatever the colors are. They're just it's amazing. It's just an amazing value. You're going to want to get an SD card for it, right? And configure it to use the SD card for content, because if you want to load it up with music or whatever. But this is like the greatest value in digital devices that of the past 5 years or something. It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Darren in the chat room said he thinks that the Nokia 520 right now is $80 on Amazon.
It's crazy.
I mean, when you're talking about a new phone.
Stupid.
You're talking about a new phone in the world where we have all these unsubsidized phones that are going for $700.
Well, by the way, so forgetting for a fact that it's a phone, because it is a phone too, by the way. It works great as a phone. In fact, right now, my second line is on the 520. But this device, just as like an MP3 player, just as that kind of a thing, a modern take on that kind of device. All the games that work on it, all the Xbox Live games, including Halo and all that stuff. $99 retail usually. What would you pay for a 64 gig micro SD card? $50 maybe.
$50. Okay.
Whatever that is. How much does a 64 or 32 gig iPod Touch cost?
$300.
Keep going. It's more than
32 gig is $299, and I think it's $399 for 64.
It's $400. Yeah,
$400.
That's the difference. It's just and by the way, it's a phone.
But Paul, how are they able to do this? $99. How are they able to do this?
It's because they don't need to have 300% margins. I don't know. It's insane. I mean, I don't know why this isn't the model for the cell phone industry. In other words, this device is a fairly low-end device. It's got a dual-core processor, 512 megs of RAM. It only has 8 gigabytes of internal storage. I get it. Small screen. But how can they sell this for $99, and how do they not sell a 920 for $200? No contract. And a 1020 for $300?
No contract.
No contract.
Yeah.
To me, that is how this stuff should be priced. And I'm hoping that this little wedge, because right now, this device is one of every smartphone sold in the top 5 countries for smartphones in Europe, just by virtue of the fact that it's $99 or the equivalent in Europe. I'm hoping that this little wedge will change things forever, because the pricing model that we have right now in the smartphone industry
it's obscene. It really
is broken. And if I wanted to buy that iPhone 5S,
$700.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
But
I've spent less on cars. That's crazy.
Here has always been the argument, okay? The argument has always been, well, because when the iPad came out, people said, well, look, the iPad is $400, but you're getting, $500, whatever, $499, right? It came out at?
Yep.
It's $500, and the phone unsubsidized is $700. How is that possible? And they said, well, you know what it is? It's the size of the screen. You're also getting the CDMA on there. So, those things are driving up the cost.
You're telling me that a wireless radio costs hundreds of dollars. Give me a break. This whole system is broken, and we've kind of allowed this to continue. I don't know why. I don't know either. Why the Attorney General has not investigated.
You know why? Because people are so dumb at pricing. There's low information everything.
Every story that you read about the iPhone 5 will tell you that this device only costs $99. That is a lie. That device costs $550 or whatever the subsidy is over 2 years of your contract. The Lumia 520 costs $99.
Paul, I really, really, really thought that they were going to announce that this phone is $99, and here's the catch: if you want to buy it without a contract, it's $299.
Oh, right.
That would have been great. $300.
$300, $400. I'd give them $400.
$399 for the phone, unsubsidized.
I would have bought one of those things sight unseen. That would be no problem. You know, it's once you it's like that iPad price line. Once you get past $500, it gets ludicrous.
But you know what it is? It's not even that they're making a 300% margin, Paul. It's that they don't want you to buy a phone without a contract.
I know.
That's what it comes down to.
Apple is,
and all of them. I mean,
well,
even
Apple.
Google.
By the way, like, we shouldn't. We always use we use very critical terms when we describe this. What's happening here? I want to be very clear. I've spoken in the past about the problems in the PC industry and the fact that the netbook destroyed the pricing structure for PCs and caused people to expect things to cost less than nothing. And that's the problem. People don't want to spend a lot of money on an Ultrabook or a hybrid PC. They want to spend $400. And so I have to give Apple a little bit of credit. What they're kind of implicitly saying is that the things we make have value. And we're not going to sell. We're not going to make the netbook. We're not going to do that crappy bargain basement, throw it in the trash, commoditized piece of crap. We make devices that are of quality. Now, you and I and others can debate the merits of those arguments, but I give them credit for holding the line. I think they're doing it a little too,
or even just giving people the
strenuously.
illusion, giving people the illusion that they're getting a high premium quality device.
As always, we must bring it back to automobiles. You know, Mercedes sells A and B class cars in Europe because cars are so expensive there, but they won't sell them here because if Mercedes sold a car that cost $25,000, it would devalue the brand, and it wouldn't be a luxury brand as we now perceive it. If you could buy a Mercedes for the price of a Ford,
why are you going to buy it? Yeah.
What is Mercedes then? You've just admitted that you can make cars that cost nothing. I mean, so what's the point of these expensive cars? That's Apple. You know,
but I think they're all guilty of it. I mean, you tried to buy an unsubsidized Samsung Galaxy S4 and you're spending $600 or $500, whatever it is. You know, this concept is not just only for Apple. It's all across the board with all of these. You go buy an HTC, a brand new HTC One, unsubsidized. Look at what the price is going to be. It's this weird conditioning that they've put into us. I mean, they punish us for not getting a contract. That's what it comes down to.
The problem is that the pricing in these markets follows a natural order, and it's something that Apple actually can't prevent. And so once you have companies like Amazon selling selling a Kindle Fire HD or whatever it is for $99 or $150,
$159 right now in the store, the Kindle Fire HD.
And then you look at the iPad Mini, which I'm guessing sells for like $329 to start or something. To me, that double the price is maybe the most that Apple could possibly do and have it make any sense. And so when the Lumia 520 sells for $99, I don't understand how it's not possible that I can't buy an off-contract phone from Apple for $200 or $300 or $350. Some increment of that makes sense. $550 makes no sense. Actually, I should. What is the no contract price for an iPhone 4S? Which is
I was just thinking that. I don't know.
I bet it's $400. I bet it's $400, $450, something like that. Because it's Apple.
Yeah.
Right? This is a device whose design has been paid for 12-fold, and they're still trying to, stroke it for every possible amount of profit imaginable. I mean, they're so bald-faced about it. But again, I give them some credit. Certainly they charge what the market will allow. I mean,
yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
It is interesting, this whole subsidy thing, and we could spend an hour talking about it, but it is time to wrap it up. We got stuff to do.
Go to AT&T right now and complain.
You should, and you know what? I'm going to continue drinking while you do that.
The guy will be pushing that button that's under the,
Sir, are you drunk? Have you been drinking? Well, I did drink during my podcast, but
I'll just break my bottle of Findemon on the counter and be like, "Listen,
start fighting.
I need an iPhone."
Get a little stabby with the bottle.
I'm feeling
That's what I tell her. I feel a little stabby today.
Feeling a little stabby.
My wife is making turkey burgers because I'm healthy, and I'm on a diet. So I'm going to go and eat a turkey burger and drink my my rosé, because that's what men do. Real manly men.
That's not what men do, but okay.
Oh, well, that's not what I was told. I don't know. Maybe you were brought up a little different in Boston.
Yeah, probably.
Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. If you miss any of our shows, of course, you can subscribe to us. I encourage you guys, please subscribe to us because it helps us out. Every time we download a show, helps us out, makes us look better for our advertisers and more people, I don't know, download the show. So it's fine. Go to winsuperside.com for all things Windows and Microsoft and Apple. And you cover everything, Paul. I mean, it's not just Windows.
I'm a nut.
It's a lot of Kindle stuff on there, a lot of Microsoft stuff. I mean, you're covering everything, and literally you're pushing out a blog every day. I mean, just crazy how many 50 blogs a day, Paul. I don't know how you do
Pushing out
it.
a blog every day.
Every day you're pushing out blogs.
Fair enough.
How many do you have on there from today?
How many what?
Articles.
Posts? I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's count. Because I went there and I was so surprised.
7 from today.
Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 yesterday. You're slacking.
Yep.
Mondays. Paul got a case of the Mondays. WinSuperside.com for all things Paul Thrive. Of course, you can support us by using our Amazon affiliate link, gfq.co/Amazon. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarin. You can follow Paul at The Rot. And, of course, you can follow the GFQ Network at GFQ Network on Twitter. And, again, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.